Hello everybody, it's me, Riff Raff Hornhelm, and I'm back again with another presentation from the Dwarven Vault, and today we have a monster review for you. Today we're going to talk to you about the LEMURE. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This is a lesser devil, and in line with our ongoing series, this is a turnable creature that turns at the level of a special on the turn chart. Brought to us from the original Monster Manual, as used with Basic Dungeons & Dragons and Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, or what's typically known today as 1E. And like I said, you can turn it, right? How hard can this be? This thing, I mean, look at this. It's just like a blobby, bad image of a human. This is where souls are sent in the 9 hells to be tormented by the devils. You know, the bit with the pitchforks and the flames shooting up and this kind of stuff. Now, once again, this is a game, not the real thing, and lemures are, in many ways, to be pitied. But they're also evil. They come in job lots, and you're only going to run into them in hell. You're not going to run into them in the prime material plane at all. They are armor class 7. And that's not much. 4 hit dice. They are semi-intelligent, so they don't even have, I don't know, anything that really makes sense to them. They're constantly tormented. They are the victims of devils. Every once in a while, a devil will call one out and use it to make like a wraith or a specter or something like that. But for the most part, they just kind of stand around. Now, because they are semi-intelligent and tortured souls, anything that's not in devil, they attack. And they don't do much damage. It's like 1 to 3 points of damage. And even though they are devils and should have many of the shared attributes of devils, they really don't. The one thing they do have is they regenerate at the rate of 1 hit point per round. That's how they're able to survive being constantly tortured by devils. Pretty sad. So really, if they attack you, it's only because you're living and happen to be there. Non-negotiable. Can't talk to them. They don't make any sense. They're just going to swarm you and try and drive you under and attack you that way until they get rid of you. And yes, they can be turned, and you should be able to turn a fair number of them. That's between you and your dungeon master. But certainly multiples should be turned once you hit the turn in terms of having made the actual roll that you needed to make. Lemures are, I'm not really sure why they got included. Can't really do much with them. And yes, you could use them to help build your story. But there are other inconsequential demonic or devilish creatures that can do more than this one can. But technically speaking, technically correct, I know, the best kind of correct, these are things that you can turn. You're just going to have to go to them. So, of course, talking to the greater Hornhelm community in this case was pretty useless. I only ran across one person who, as a player, had run into these when they were doing extraplanular travel and were in the 9 hells. And they said, yeah, they wanted to get swarming right away, but their clerics were able to hold them off. Talking to DMs, myself included, none of us have ever used these. I just don't see the point. That you could use them as background and filler, but not for actual encounter. An encounter of any kind doesn't seem to be worth it. So the feedback I got from the DMs in the Hornhelm community is yeah, a 1, a half. They didn't think very much of them because they couldn't see how they were going to use them other than to provide color in a background for a description. Talking to players, the one player who ran into them said, yeah, like a 1.5, and that was because of the regen thing. He said, but really, you know, if you had somebody who could turn them, that didn't make any difference anyways. So, not a very high ranking, not something I would expect you to run into. If you do, once again, like many things that are from the devil's side, blessed things make a big difference. A holy sword, holy water, these kind of things make a big difference if you're going to physically defend yourself. Otherwise, how often are you likely to run into these? And the answer would be is probably never. Oh well. But still, it is an undead turnable creature. I hope you've enjoyed today's presentation. If you did, please be so kind as to give us a like, consider subscribing, share with your friends, leave us a comment. But by all means, come back and see us again in the future. Take care, everyone, and remember, dwarves rock!